Okay. Not able to connect to YouTube today for some reason.
Okay. It says recording in progress.
Yeah, recording on the PC, but directly it can connect to YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. That's not happening today. No worries. I will record and then later I will try and upload. Okay, so after a bit of gap, we are resuming our chapter summaries from 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we completed chapter 4 of 5th canto before the break. And today we will try and complete the most important chapter, in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada loved this chapter so much. Prabhupada used to quote verses from this chapter time and again. So 5.5, so very, very important chapter. So as soon as, we open the Srimad Bhagavatam, we come to 5th canto, Rishabdev, we remember Prabhupada because Prabhupada really loved it. Wonderful teachings of Rishabdev to his sons. So let me see what we should try and read. Okay. So let me share the screen. Yeah. So first 6 verses, they are teachings. Sometimes it's very difficult to segregate or separate as a section. But however, we will take the essence. Yeah. Okay. So if you are in a position to read, please raise your hand, and then we can ask accordingly. Prema Bhakti, you can go and read first 6 verses from this famous chapter. Please unmute and then, yeah.
Okay. Text 1. King Parikshit asked Sukadeva Goswami.
Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. Why did I open 5.6 instead of 5.5? Yeah, no Parikshit in this one. Can you see the screen?
I'm using my laptop here on my own.
All right. Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Text 1. Lord Rishabdev told his sons, "My dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activities, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever."
Yeah, maybe I change the style. Let's discuss this one because these are teachings.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we remember the previous chapter, so King, let's give a little background. Swayambhu Manu had 2 sons and 3 daughters. The 2 sons were Uttanapada and Priyavrata. So after the completion of Uttanapada's dynasty, Priyavrata was enthroned. And then he had several sons, but the first son, eldest, was Agnidra. Agnidra had again several sons, and first son of Agnidra was Nabhi, King Nabhi. Nabhi did not have any children. He performed a sacrifice to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when the Lord appeared on the scene, he asked for a son who is as good as the Supreme Personality himself. And the Lord said, no one is as good as me, so I will appear in as your son. And that was third chapter of fifth canto. In the fourth chapter, Rishabdev, Lord appeared as Rishabdev to King Nabhi and his wife Meru Devi. So Rishabha, King Nabhi named the child Rishabha. Rishabha means the best of human beings. So Rishabdev was so special and attracted the attention of the subjects of, when King Nabhi decided to leave and retire, so he was enthroned. Rishabdev was enthroned. King Indra became envious of Rishabdev's mystic power and his abilities. So as a result of that, he stopped rainfall on the land of Bharatavarsha. Previously, it was known as Ajnaba Varsha. So, however, Rishabdev, with his mystic power, he created rains. And so to compensate, to nullify the offense, Indradev offered a girl named Jayanti to Rishabdev. And so Rishabdev married to Jayanti and begot 100 children in her womb. And so out of this 100, 9 became the Mahabhagavatas, Navayogendras, we call them. And then 11, I think, 11 became Brahmanas, if I remember well. And the remaining 80, 10 became Kshatriyas. And the remaining 81 became Karmakanda Brahmanas. So 9 Mahabhagavatas, great devotees of the Lord. And then 10 became Kshatriyas, rulers of the world. And the remaining 81 perfect Karmakanda Brahmanas, performing various rituals. So while touring the world with his sons, Rishabdev came to a place known as Brahmavarta. And there was an assembly of Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. In that assembly, Rishabdev decided to instruct his own 100 sons. So these are given in chapter 5. So Rishabdev is instructing his sons, I think, in front of all the assembled Brahmanas. Okay, so this is the first instruction, very, very heavy instruction. Prabhupada gave unlimited classes on this particular verse. famous verse. Prabhupada gave so many lectures on 551. Rushabha Vacha Nayam Deho Deha Bajam Nruloke Kashtan Kaman Harhate Vidbhujam Ye Tapo Divyam Putrakayena Satvam Shuddhet Yasmad Brahma Saukyam Tvanantam. So famous verse. So here, the essence of this verse is that human life is not meant for sensitive gratification, but for divine austerity. This is the sum and substance of this famous verse. The sense gratification is available to hogs and dogs. Here, Rushabdev says, don't involve in sense gratification. Don't work too hard. Kashtan, kaman, hargate. Don't work too hard. Vidubujam ye. So it is also available to the hogs. Very heavy statement. A very heavy statement. So what you should do instead of working too hard for sense gratification, which is available for hogs here directly, stool heater, vidbujam ye means stool heater, that is the meaning. So instead, one should engage tapodivyam. Tapodivyam. One should undergo some divine penance. And if we do this, what happens? Which will purify us? Shuddhet. That will purify our mind and heart and consciousness. From there, what we will get is Brahma Saukyam Tvanantam. Unlimited happiness can be gained by this divine austerity. So, Prabhupada's loved this verse. Wonderful purport also, but we can't do this. So essence of this verse is that, oh my sons, do not work too hard for satisfying your senses. And this kind of sense gratification available to hogs and dogs. So don't work, don't do that. You got the human body. That's why that human bodies should be used for divine austerity, engage in devotional service, engage in austerity and penance to please the Lord. And thereby we can purify ourselves and attain unlimited happiness. This is the recipe for unlimited happiness. Okay, so Prema Bhakti, text 2. Are you there? Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Yes, probably, yeah. Text 2. Let's read on laptop. Text 2. One can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. These personalities are impersonalists and devotees. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or wants to associate with the personality of Godhead, one should render service to the Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities, who associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to hell is wide open. The Mahatmas are equipoised. They do not see any difference between one living entity and another. They are very peaceful and are fully engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of anger, and they work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way. Such people are known as Mahatmas.
So this is also very famous verse, Prabhupada often quoted. Mahat sevam dvaramahur vimuktes Tamodhvaram yoshitam sangi sangham Mahantaste samachittaha prashanta Vimanyavaha surudaha sadhavo ye. So, cause of liberation and bondage is given. If we associate with saintly people, Mahatmas, that will open the door of liberation, door of liberation, saintly people. On the other hand, if we associate with people who are addicted to associate with women and addicted to have sense gratification, that means materialistic people, then that will cause the bondage. So thereby Rushabdev indicating what is he indicating? Simply do not associate with people who are extremely materialistic and addicted to sense gratification. Rather, you should associate with saintly people. Just association, nothing else. Sangha sanjayate kama. So from the association, desire develops. So here, Rushabdev says, associate with Mahatmas and do not associate with this materialistic people who are addicted to sense gratification. And Mahatmas, they are peaceful, they are equal to everyone, and they are compassionate and well-wishers of everyone. So they are Mahatmas. So if we want to do this one is possible. This one, how do we engage in tapodivyam? Tapodivyam, divine austerity. How can we engage in divine austerity? Only when we associate with Mahatmas. So this is the point. Time again comes in this whole chapter. You see this one. Do not engage in sense gratification. Associate with saintly people. So this is a message time and again comes in a slightly different way. Okay, so Prema Bhakti.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Text 3. Those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing their love of Godhead do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. They are not interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their bodies, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They are not attached to their homes, although they may be householders. Nor are they attached to wives, children, friends, or wealth. At the same time, they are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. Such people are interested in collecting only enough money to keep the body and soul together.
So here, this verse gives the quality of an extraordinary devotee who is sincere. That devotee, what does that devotee do? He does not waste time. He does not associate with materialistic people. And although he's working, although that person works, but he just works to get enough wealth to maintain this body. I mean, bare necessities of the life so that he can spend more time. So yeah, here the person who is the person who is serious in devotion, do not associate with the materialistic people and do not waste time and do not work too hard for material things. Okay, next one.
Okay, I'm not on mute, am I?
Text 4.
Text 4. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activities. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it is not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another.
So this is another famous verse. Prabhupada used to love this. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya aprunoti na sadhu manye yatatmanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. So those who are mad after sense gratification, they perform vikarma because they are so much interested in sense gratification. They like to do any kind of activity, I mean, vikarma, sinful activity. They perform sinful activities because they are mad after sense gratification. So because of this, nasadu manye yathatmanoyam, this is not good actually. This is not good for ourselves. So because of this sense gratification, we engage in sinful activities, which is not good for ourselves. And because of this sense gratification, we are taking repeated birth. Therefore, I think not befitting. Intelligent man should not involved in this kind of sense gratification. And this sense gratification is giving perpetually giving our material bodies. So again, here this verse talks about sense gratification, right? Okay, Prema Bhakti.
Text 5. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance, be it sinful or pious. Karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karma maka, colored with fruitive activities. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear. And as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activities, he has to accept a material body.
Yeah, so this verse says, sometimes man engaged in fruitive activities does sinful activities and pious activities, but both can lead to bondage. And that's why, inquire about self. So that's what that verse says. Text 6, please.
Text 6. When the living entity is covered by the mold of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjected by fruitive activities. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, one who is none other than myself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again.
So we have to develop love to Rishabdeva or Vasudeva, then only we'll be able to liberate ourselves. Okay, so next person, please. Next devotee. 789, please. Who would like to read?
Prabhu, I can read.
Please.
Even though one may be very learned and wise, he is mad if he does not understand that the endeavor for sense gratification is a useless waste of time. Being forgetful of his own interest, he tries to be happy in the material world, centering his interests around his home, which is based on sexual intercourse and which brings him all kinds of material miseries. In this way, one is no better than a foolish animal. The attraction principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and the female, one becomes attracted to his body and relatives and wealth. In this way, one increases.
We are losing you sometime. Are you away from your mic?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that better, Prabhu?
Better, Mataji.
Yeah. When the strong knot in the heart of a person implicated in material life due to the result of past actions is slackened, one turns away from his attachment to home, wife, and children. In this way, one gives up the basic principle of illusion of I and mine and becomes liberated. Thus, one goes to the transcendental world. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, so in this one again, it is being explained how to cut the knot of illusion. So it is said here, we have to give up this I and mind concept. But that happens only when we engage in the devotional service. So we will have to move. Next one, can somebody read from 10 to 14, please?
Will read probably.
Yeah.
Oh, my sons, you should accept a highly elevated for a Paramahamsa.
Yeah.
A spiritually advanced spiritual master. In this way, you should place your faith and love in me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You should detest sense gratification and tolerate the duality of pleasure and pain, which are like seasonal changes of summer and winter. Try to realize the miserable condition of living entities who are miserable even in the higher planetary systems. Philosophically inquire about the truth, then undergo all kinds of austerities and penances for the sake of devotional service. Give up the endeavor for sense enjoyment and engage in the service of Lord. Listen to discussions about Supreme Personality of Godhead and always associate with devotees. Chant and glorify the Supreme Lord and look upon everyone equally on the spiritual platform. Give up enmity and subdue anger and lamentation. Abandon identifying the self with the body and the home, and practice reading and reveal scriptures. Live in a secular places and practice the process by which you can completely control your life, air, mind, and senses. Have full faith in the revealed scriptures, the Vedic literatures, and always observe the celibacy. Perform your prescribed duties and avoid unnecessary talks, always thinking of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Acquire knowledge from right source. Thus, practicing Bhakti Yoga, you will patiently and enthusiastically be elevated in knowledge and will be able to give up the false ego. Text 14. As I have advised you, my dear sons, you should act accordingly. Be careful. By this means, you will be freed from ignorance of the desire of fruitive activity, and the knot of bondage in the heart will be completely served. For further advancements, you should also give up the means. That is, you should not become attached to the process of liberation itself.
Thank you. So here, Rishabdev gives 25 items a practicing devotee should follow. This process, by following these 25 items, one can attain liberation. So here you can see some of these items. First is that the most important item is you should accept Guru. My sons, you should accept a highly elevated Paramahamsa as your spiritual master. One must accept one Guru, and then other processes are given. That is the number one item. Inquire about the truth, perform austerities, engage in my activities, hearing about myself and associating with my devotees, and don't be envious, see equally, study the scriptures, live in a secluded place, means like basically, associate with the devotees. Observing celibacy and taking the darshan, or seeing my presence everywhere. These are some of the processes that Rishabdev gives. And perform your prescribed duty, avoid unnecessary talking. So people like to gossip, but here Rishabdev says that avoid unnecessary talking. And this way you perform bhakti yoga. And when we do these processes under the direction of bona fide Guru, what happens is that knot of bondage in the heart will be completely severed. So then once that is severed, then we can advance further. Okay, so next 15 to 18, please. Who is reading? Text 15 to 18, please.
Can I read again, Prabhu, if nobody
Please,
is
yeah, please. Manjula Mata, you can read, and then after that, Prema Bhakti can read.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. If one is serious about going back home, back to Godhead, he must consider the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the summum bonum and the chief aim of life. If he is a father instructing his sons, a spiritual master instructing his disciples, or a king instructing his citizens, he must instruct them as I have advised. Without being angry, he should continue giving instructions, even if his disciple, son, or citizen is sometimes unable to follow his order. Ignorant people who engage in pious and impious activities should be engaged in devotional service by all means. They should always avoid fruitive activity. If one puts into the bondage of karmic activity his disciple, his son or citizen who is bereft of transcendental vision, how will one profit? It is like leading a blind man to a dark well and causing him to fall in.
Thank you. Let me explain this one here. Thank you. So here, Rishabdev is saying that if one is serious of going back to Godhead, and there should be instructions. We should either receive instructions or give instructions. If you are a parent or a spiritual master or a teacher, an administrator or a manager, we should instruct the subjects or the dependents. And here it is said that the instruction should be without being angry. The instruction should be given to the disciple, son, or citizen, or subjects. Sometimes they may not be able to follow, but instruction should be given. It is said. This is very important. because not everyone on the same level. So we should always give instructions to our dependents. That is the point. And also it says that we should never engage them in karma, only karma. So the karma should be transformed into devotion. That should be done with our teachings. And if we are in a position to receive these instructions, we should obey these instructions and apply in our life. Next, Mathaji, please. Sorry.
Text 16.
Mm-hmm.
Due to ignorance, the materialistic person does not know anything about his real self-interest, the auspicious path in life. He is simply bound to material enjoyment by lusty desires, and all his plans are made for this purpose. For temporary sense gratification, such a person creates a society of envy, and due to this mentality, he plunges into the ocean of suffering. Such a foolish person does not even know about this.
Please move on.
Text 17. If someone is ignorant and addicted to the path of samsara, how can one who is actually learned, merciful, and advanced in spiritual knowledge engage him in fruitive activity and thus further entangle him in material existence? If a blind man is walking down the wrong path, how can a gentleman allow him to continue on his way to danger? How can he approve this method? No wise or kind man can allow this. Thank you, Prabhu.
18 also, please.
Okay, Prabhu. One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. Thank you, Prabhu.
I'll take this verse. This is Prabhupada's, again, famous verse, repeatedly quoted. Guru na sasyat swajano na sasyat pita na sasyat janani na sasyat daivam na tatsyan na patischa sasyan namo chayedyaha samupeta mrutyum. Prabhupada loved this verse. Again, it's the same point that, one should be able to deliver their dependents. If one is not able to deliver their dependents, then one should not become a father, one should not become a guru. So it is said, Guru, no one should not become a spiritual master unless you have the ability to deliver your disciples. Don't become spiritual master. You should not. And Swajanona Sasyat. And so it is said that, if you're a father or a mother, then we should also able to deliver our dependents. One should not become a demigod like that. So what does that mean? That means that we should be able to give knowledge to our dependents. So we have a responsibility, like, as a parent, husband, or a mother, and as a leader. We have this responsibility, that responsibility of delivering them from the clutches of Maya and sending them back to the spiritual world. Of course, but these days, husband or a parent, they do not have the knowledge itself. But here Rishabdev says that you should not become a parent, you should not become an husband, should not become a leader unless you are able to do this. Yeah. So we'll move on to the next section. Prabhupada loved this verse. Repeatedly quoted that verse. Prema Bhakti. Next two verses.
Text 19. My transcendental body, Satchitananda Vigraha, looks exactly like a human form, but it is not a material human body. It is conceivable.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable, sorry. I am not forced by nature to accept a particular type of body. I take on a body by my own sweet will. My heart is also spiritual, and I always think of the welfare of my devotees. Therefore, within my heart can be found the process of devotional service, which is meant for the devotees. Far from my heart have I abandoned irreligion, adharma, and non-devotional activities. They do not appeal to me due to all these transcendental qualities. People generally pray to me as Rishadev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all living entities. Text 20. My dear boys, you are all born of my heart, which is the seat of all spiritual qualities. Therefore, you should not be like materialistic and envious men. You should accept your eldest brother, Bharat, who is exalted in devotional service. If you engage yourself in Bharat's service, your service to him will include my service, and you will rule the citizens automatically.
Thank you. Very, very wonderful verses. In this text 19, Rishabdev says a very important point. Again, Prabhupada quoted this verse, Idam Shariram Mamabdur Vibhavyam, famous verse. So basically, here Rishabdev is saying that Rishabdev is saying to his children, mine, although is looking like a human form, but it is not material, it is inconceivable. I take on a body out of my own sweet will, it is spiritual. So that is what Rishabdev established. Rishabdev is saying that his body is spiritual, his body is inconceivable. And he had taken that body out of his own sweet will. And so he is saying, so I abandoned irreligion and non-devotional activities. And then he says that, my dear sons, I've been telling you that you should accept a Paramahamsa and serve that Paramahamsa. And Mahatma, association of Mahatmas. So here he's telling his sons that you should accept your eldest brother, Bharata, and serve him. If you serve him, you will also, by serving him, you serve me. And by serving him, you will also rule the citizens automatically. Very wonderful point. So when we serve Prabhupada, we are serving the Supreme Lord. Here it says, yes, if you engage yourself in Bharata's service, your service to him will include my service. So this is a wonderful point that when we serve a pure devotee, we are automatically serving the Lord. Also, our prescribed duties are automatically performed. We are able to perform automatically. So serving pure devotees is very important. Thereby we serve the Lord. So next, 21 till 25. Let's see who would like to read.
Prabhuji, can I read?
Please.
Thank you. Text 21 and 22. One of the two energies manifest spirit and dull matter. beings possessing living force, like vegetables, grass, trees, and plants, are superior to dull matter like stone, earth, etc. Superior to non-moving plants and vegetables are worms and snakes, which can move. Superior to worms and snakes are animals that have developed intelligence. Superior to animals are human beings, and superior to human beings are ghosts because they have no material bodies. Superior to ghosts are the Gandharvas, and superior to them are the Siddhas. Superior to the Siddhas are the Kinnaras, and superior to them are the Asuras. Superior to the Asuras are the demigods, and of the demigods, Indra, the king of heaven, is supreme. Superior to Indra are the direct sons of Lord Brahma, sons like King Daksha, and supreme among Brahma's sons is Lord Shiva. Since Lord Shiva is a son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior. But Brahma is also subordinate to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because I am inclined to the Brahmanas are best of all. Text 23. O respectful Brahmanas, as far as I am concerned, no one is equal or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. I do not find anyone comparable to them. When people know my motive, after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana. When food is thus offered unto me, I eat it with full satisfaction. Indeed, I derive more pleasure from food offered in that way than from the food offered in the sacrificial fire. Text 24. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva Guna. Because of this, they are fixed in mind, control, Shama, sense control, Dhamma, and truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penance, tapasya, and tolerance, titiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord, Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. Text 25. I am fully opulent, almighty, and superior to Lord Brahma and Indra, the king of the heavenly planets. I am also the bestower of all happiness obtained in the heavenly kingdom and by liberation. Nonetheless, the Brahmanas do not seek material comforts from me. They are very pure and they do not want to possess anything. They simply engage in my devotional service. What is the need of their asking for material benefits from anyone else?
Thank
Text.
you very much. Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Mati.
you. Thank you very much.
So in this section, the glories of Brahmanas are given. So who is a Brahmana? So who is a Brahmana? Here he said there are many things. They simply engage in my devotional service, and they do not ask for anything else actually. They simply engage in my devotional service. They are very pure and do not want to possess anything else. And the 8 qualities are given here. So, sense control, they're always truthful, steer, tolerant, and they're fixed in their fixed up in their devotion, um, and they're non-envious, etc. So these are the qualities of Brahmanas. Brahmana doesn't a person doesn't become a Brahmana just by taking birth in a Brahmana family. Although by taking birth in a Brahmana family, there is always an advantage. If the parents are qualified Brahmanas, they can train the children. But we don't see much in Kali Yuga. Janmato jayate Shudra. So by birth, everyone is a Shudra. Samskarat bhaved vijaha. By undergoing purificatory process, then one can become a qualified Brahman. Here you can see that in text 21 and 22, gradation of living entities is given. So although we should not become envious, we should see the Lord's presence in every living entity, moving and non-moving. Yet there are superior beings. There are some superior beings and some inferior beings. So it starts with, immovable living entity. Immovable living entities are better than inanimate objects. Immovable living entities like vegetables, grass, trees, and plants, they do not move, but they are better than the dull matter. And better than these immovable beings is movable living entities, such as worms, snakes, etc., because they can move. And better than them, or animals. And better than animals, human beings. And this way you can see that Supreme Lord is ultimate here. He says that I am the best. But however, he says, because I'm inclined to the Brahmanas are best of all. So indirectly, Lord is saying that the Brahmanas are actually higher than the Lord. So that's why the Lord is called Brahmanya Devaya. So why Lord Rishabdev is giving? This is called positive discrimination. Although we do not insult any living entity or any being, yet we will take association with Brahmanas or Vaishnavas for our advancement. That is the message that Rishabdev is giving. Okay, so next to move on. So 26 and 27, only two. Quick, please.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Text 26. My dear sons, you should not envy any living entity, but be he moving or unmoving. Knowing that I am situated in them, you should offer respect to all of them at every moment. In this way, you offer respect to me. Text 27. The true activity of the sense organs, mind, sight, words, and all the knowledge gathering and working senses is to engage fully in my service. Unless his senses are thus engaged, a living entity cannot think of getting out of the great entanglement of material existence, which is exactly like Yamaraja's stringent robe. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so here you can see that, and as we discussed, from the previous verses, here Lord Rishabdev is saying that respect all beings, because I am there in every being. So you have to see my presence everywhere. That's one point. And secondly, one should engage one's senses in my service, Rishabdev is saying. Thereby, one can purify the senses. That is devotion, basically. So we don't completely stop using our senses, but what we do is we engage our senses in the service of the Lord. So Lord Rishabdev is also saying that should be engaged in my service. This is an important point. Purna Mataji, from 28 till 35, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Text 28. Shukadeva Goswami said, thus the great well-wisher of everyone, the Supreme Lord Rishabdev, instructed his own sons. Although they were perfectly educated and cultured, he instructed them just to set an example of how a father should instruct his sons before retiring from family life. Sannyasis, who are no longer bound by fruits of activity and who have taken to devotional service after all their material desires have been vanquished, also learn by these instructions. Lord Rishabdev instructed his 100 sons, of whom the eldest, Bharat, was a very advanced devotee and a follower of Vaishnavas. In order to rule the world, the Lord enthroned his eldest son on the royal seat. Thereafter, although still at home, Lord Rishabdev lived like a madman, naked and with disheveled hair. Then the Lord took the sacrificial fire within himself, and he left the Brahmavarta to tour the whole world. Text 29. After accepting the feature of a Dut, a great saintly person without material cares, Lord Rishabdev passed through human society like a blind, deaf, and dumb man, an idle stone, a ghost, or a madman. Although people called him such names, he remained silent and did not speak to anyone. Rishabdev began to tour through cities, villages, mines, countrysides, valleys, gardens, military camps, cow pens, the homes of cowherd men, transient homes, hotels, hills, forests, and hermitages. Wherever he travelled, all bad elements surrounded him, just as flies surrounded the body of an elephant coming from the forest. He was always being threatened, beaten, urinated upon, and spat on. Sometimes people threw stones, straw, and dust at him, and sometimes people passed foul air before him. Thus people called him many bad names and gave him a great deal of trouble. But he did not care about this, for he understood that the body is simply meant for such an end. He was situated on the spiritual platform, and being in a spiritual glory, he did not care for all these material insults. In other words, he completely understood that matter and spirit are separate, and he had no bodily conception. Thus, without being angry at anyone, he walked through the whole world alone. Lord Rishabdev's hands, feet, and chest were very long. His shoulders, face, and limbs were all very delicate and symmetrically proportioned. His mouth was beautifully decorated with his natural smile, and he appeared all the more lovely with his reddish eyes spread wide like the pearls of newly grown lotus flower covered in dew in the morning. The irises of his eyes were so pleasing that they removed all the trouble of everyone who saw him. His forehead, ears, neck, nose, and all his other features were very beautiful. His gentle smile always made his face beautiful, so much so he even attracted the hearts of married women. It was as though they had been pierced by arrows of Cupid. About his head was an abundance of curly, matted brown hair. His hair was disheveled because his body was dirty and not taken care of. He appeared as if he was a haunted ghost. Haunted by a ghost. When Lord Rishabdev saw that the general populace was very antagonistic to his execution of mystic yoga, he accepted the behavior of a python in order to counteract their opposition. Thus he stayed in one place and lay down. While lying down, he ate and drank and he passed stool and urine and rolled in it. Indeed, he smeared his whole body with his own stool and urine, so that opposing elements might not come and disturb him. Because Lord Rishabdev remained in that condition, the public did not disturb him, but no bad aroma emanated from his stool and urine. Quite the contrary, his stool and urine was so aromatic that they filled 80 miles of the country with a pleasant fragrance. In this way, Lord Rishabdev...
Best perfume to sell.
In this way, Lord Rishabdev followed the behavior of cows, deer, and crows. Sometimes he moved or walked, and sometimes he sat down in one place. Sometimes he lay down, behaving exactly like cows, deer, and crows. In that way, he ate, drank, passed stool and urine, and treated the people in this way. O King Parikshit, just to show all the yogis the mystic process, Lord Rishabdev, the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna, performed wonderful activities. Actually, he was the master of liberation and was fully absorbed in transcendental bliss, which increased 1,000-fold. Lord Krishna, Vasudev, the son of Vasudev, is the original source of Lord Rishabdev. There is no difference in their constitution, and consequently, Lord Rishabdev awakened the loving symptoms of crying, laughing, and shivering. He was always absorbed in transcendental love. Due to this, all mystic powers automatically approached him, such as the ability to travel in outer space at the speed of mind, to appear and disappear, to enter the bodies of others, and to see things far, far away. Although he could do all this, he did not...
Prabhuji, if you could scroll up a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
exercise these powers.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful reading. So in this last section, you can see that Rishabdev, it is said that he instructed his sons to set an example how a father, how a parent should instruct his or her sons or children. They are actually these the sons of Rishabh. They were perfectly well educated and cultured, yet he is giving these instructions to set a wonderful example. And then what did he do? This is another example, like he enthroned Bharat, eldest, and then he left home and just accepting the feature of Avaduta. Avaduta means they just roam, they wander, they are above the rules of Varnashrama Dharma. As a saintly Avaduta, he started wandering everywhere. People were doing all ill things, yet he did not care. He's setting an example for all of us that is the nature. So even though there are bad opposing elements, people may say so many things, but we should be fixed up in our devotion. There is an interesting fact mentioned here that the stool and urine of Rishabdev was very aromatic, actually, very fragrant, and it is said that the fragrance was filled 80 miles of the countryside, and it was very, very pleasant fragrance. So because his body is spiritual, and everything that is coming out is also spiritual. So this is the this is the way that Rishabdev just left and accepted as an avadut. For us also saying that we should also detach and engage in devotional service and practice devotion in spite of any opposing elements. So the summary was that basically Lord Rishabdev is telling his sons that do not engage in this sense gratification. The engaging in if you want to engage in sense gratification, this is also available to animals like the hogs and dogs. So that's why do not engage in sense gratification, but engage in divine austerity, engage in devotional service, engage in penance. Because the sense, one should stop the sense gratification, because sense gratification, because of the sense gratification, one commits sinful activities, and as a result of that, we get repeated birth. And also, we should associate with the saintly people and avoid the association of materialistic people. Although the Lord is present in moving and non-moving beings and every being, but yet we should take the association of saintly people for our advancement. So I think I stop there. So this is a very important lessons. If you have time, you can go and read some of the purports. You can enjoy even more. Okay, I'll stop there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Randara
Hare
Srila
Krishna,
Bhagavatam
Prabhuji.
ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Haribol Shaivi. Hare Krishna.